They don't sell anything. They don't make anything, and yet every second they rake in millions. Visa is the most powerful company that nobody really talks about. No store, no office open to the public, just a small logo on a card. And a dominant position in one of the most obscure markets in capitalism, payments. But what nobody tells you is that Visa doesn't make its living from the card you use. They make their living because you don't have a choice. And that's not a business. That's a lock, a monopoly, a global hostage situation wrapped in blue and gold plastic. An empire that doesn't own a single bank, but makes all the banks in the world bend to its will. An empire that doesn't lend money, but takes its cut from every cent exchange. An empire that has made itself indispensable by deliberately staying invisible. But then, how was this piece of plastic created by someone who wanted to conduct a social experiment? Why do entire countries comply with Visa's rules? How did they monetize our spending without us realizing it? Hi, Team Mindset. I hope you're well. Thank you to everyone who participated in the first poll I did on the channel to ask you what you wanted to see. I'll do this more, so feel free to respond. Today, let's explore Visa's little-known history. A project that was born out of panic and became a global standard. It's a story of completely insane risk-taking, absolute power, a pact between giants, and a trap that slowly closed in on the entire planet. Card after card, as always, we'll end with the key takeaways from this story for all entrepreneurs. Before we begin, I rarely mention this, but some of you said you missed certain videos. To make sure you don't miss anything, since this video is the first in a series about the invisible empire of payment cards, make sure to turn on the notification bell. All right, let's get started. A gray office, dirty carpet, white light, and in the middle of the room, a guy losing his patience. Joseph Williams, vice president at Bank of America, is looking at a credit card usage report. And what he sees is a disaster. Customers who don't understand anything about payments, who keep missing payments one after another. And he says to himself, we've created a monster. But to really understand what's happening, let's go back a bit. At the beginning, Joseph's idea was simple and probably even came from a good place. To create a financial tool for the masses, not for the rich, not for companies, but for everyone. Also to replace cash and make credit more fluid. Keep this information in mind for later reference. To achieve his goal, he comes up with the following model. One card, one signature, one payment. But in reality, it's chaos. He and his colleagues have just launched the AmeriCard Bank in their small town of Fresno as a test. And even there, it was complicated. Fraud, over-indebtedness, technical glitches. But then just imagine in 1966, when they wanted to roll this out nationwide. It's like you handed a grenade to a child, and that child pulled the pin without reading the instructions. And at the same time, I wonder what could have possibly gone through their minds. To say to themselves, let's just send a free credit card to every American household. Because yes, that's the sentence that started it all. No customer request, no verification of their income or liabilities, just a massive blind mailing. 60 million cards sent out like flyers. Some throw it away, others use it to buy a fridge, a car, or go shopping without having a single dollar in their account. The result, you guessed it. But this dear Joseph, apparently not. An explosion of debt, entire families trapped in revolving credit, and a default rate that's making Wall Street panic. But behind the scandal, there's a detail that no one saw coming. It's completely crazy, but people love it. They love not having to wait. They love being able to spend without thinking. Above all, they cherish the feeling of freedom, even if illusory. Bank of America is not backing down, but instead accelerating their efforts. They tell themselves that while the card isn't perfect, it's more than a mere banking tool. It's a novel approach to experiencing money. Everything changes as they shift focus from controlling the card to the network. However, the system is unstable and they're crumbling. Each bank has its own version with a unique network and operating method, creating a chaotic situation. And within Bank of America, some people are starting to think that Joseph might have started something he can't control anymore. Behind the scenes, discussions are starting. Some bankers want to take back control, create a new structure, centralize, organize, and fix this chaos. One man in particular is going to make his voice heard. His name is D. Hawk, and he's about to turn everything upside down. A small suburban office, very average standing. A man hangs up the phone. He has a fixed gaze, his eyebrows furrowed. His name is D. Hawk. As a National Bank of Commerce executive, what he just heard will change his life. Bank of America, you are transferring the management of Bank of America. He says, this isn't a gift, it's a bomb. Because Bank of America, at that time, was always a walking disaster. Debts, glitches, angry merchants. And Bank of America wants to get rid of it. But Hawk doesn't hang up. He takes a breath, thinks, and agrees. Not because he likes the system, but because he knows he can reinvent it. For months, he analyzes the reports and discovers something others missed. It's not the map. The real problem is the structure, the siloed system, the lack of coordination. Banks strive to retain power, each pulling in their own direction. No one trusts anyone. Hawk thinks, we can't fix the system, we have to recreate it entirely. So he does something that no one expected. He proposes to create a new independent entity, not controlled by Bank of America or by a single bank, but collectively managed by all the players in the network. A chaotic organization, a word actually invented by Dyack himself, which means between chaos and order. He says what we need is a system where each bank has a say, but where the network remains unified, transparent, and neutral. A new model, without an all-powerful boss, without centralized government, just rules, shared technology, and distributed governance. The bankers are shocked when an unfamiliar non-executive suggests how to revamp the system. But the craziest thing is, they're going to say yes. Why? Because Hawk is credible. He talks like a guy from the field. And above all, he's the only one with a concrete plan. As you know, things are quite messed up. So, if someone wants to handle this, he gathers all the partner banks in a hotel in San Francisco. There he spends hours laying out his vision. No bullshit, no empty promises, just a system where everyone has an interest in working together, because otherwise everyone loses. And that's when Visa is truly born. Not as an extension of Bank Americard, but as a full-fledged entity. With a new name, logo, and governance. A short universal name, Visa, like a passport to globalized money. A name designed to cross borders even before the system itself did. That day, Hawk didn't just restructure a network. He laid the foundations of modern financial architecture. Not a bank, not a product, a protocol, like the internet, but for money. But what no one had foreseen was that this network, as neutral and open as it was on paper, would become a colossal lever of power. And when Visa went global, this power started to make even governments tremble. Sarah in her living room just spotted sneakers on sale on a German website. She selects the size, enters her address, and takes out her credit card. The order is confirmed in 3 seconds, with a confirmation email and expected delivery within 4 days. She made a purchase without giving it a thought or even noticing the logo, but it was more than just a transaction. It's a logistical, legal, and monetary operation on a global scale. And at the heart of this operation is Visa. The company connects everyone, the store, the carrier, the bank, because what they've built isn't just a simple service, it's the infrastructure. An invisible tunnel that connects sellers and buyers and takes a small percentage with every transaction. But that kind of power goes even further. Fast forward, it's 2010. WikiLeaks publishes confidential documents exposing American war crimes and state deception, causing an internet firestorm. As a result, PayPal cuts off donations, banks close accounts. Then Visa and MasterCard, the major rival discussed in a future video, intervene. They deliberately block all transactions to WikiLeaks, not because it was illegal, but because the United States put pressure on them. In just a few hours, a private company decides who has the right to receive money or not. A sudden cutoff without a trial or debate. That's a turning point. Visa is no longer just a tool, it's an organ of economic control. We're moving forward. It's already 2022. The war in Ukraine starts, leading to sanctions and Visa halting its Russian operations. As a result, millions of people are suddenly cut off from the Western economic world overnight. They can still buy bread in their neighborhood, but booking a hotel abroad is impossible. Here, it's more than just a symbolic gesture. Visa emerges as a geopolitical weapon, with a tech company dictating business relationships, not banks or armies. And meanwhile, Visa keeps growing. The company processes $13 trillion a year. That's a figure that's a bit disconnected from our reality. But just in case, Visa handles the equivalent of more than 70 million years of minimum wage, or the equivalent of 20,000 minimum wages every second. And money never sleeps. Visa likely plays a role when you buy a pizza in Marseille, an iPhone in Montreal, or a plane ticket to Tokyo. But here's the detail that almost nobody notices. Visa's ownership doesn't belong to states, not to central banks, not to customers, but to private investors, hedge funds, and investment banks. BlackRock and Vanguard are companies I'd like to discuss with you on the channel. Let me know if you're interested. The irony is that those at the top of the chain, the ones who profit the most from our cards, are the only ones who never use them. To earn more, they'll do anything. In a modern open space with polished concrete walls and a designer coffee machine, a handful of engineers are working on a simple problem: how to cash in faster. Everywhere, all the time. Do you remember the original goal of our dear Joseph? The banker who handed out credit cards to an entire country faster than a dropshipper, launching a course as soon as he sells a product. That dream was to make cash disappear and take control of the digital world. Well, Visa achieved that goal, and certainly beyond Joseph's wildest dreams. Visa is no longer just a network, it's an algorithmic war machine. Tech giants are investing billions in cloud infrastructure, radically changing the system through contracts with major companies. A credit card, once merely plastic, has evolved into a universal identifier. Your smartphone, watch, computer, browser, and everything else are already connected, eliminating the need to take them out. Visa orchestrates every microtransaction in the shadows. Whether it's a €2 coffee or a €400 concert ticket, Visa takes its cut quietly and effortlessly. But what we rarely understand is that this transformation isn't just technical, it's philosophical. Because Visa no longer just wants to enable payment. They want to predict, guide, analyze. They're buying artificial intelligence startups, investing in behavioral scoring platforms, and becoming experts in a field much more profitable than payments: data control. A concrete example: Africa. Visa sees it as virgin territory with billions of transactions still done in cash. They arrive, partner with governments, digitize social benefits and taxes, gradually integrating their system into daily life. It's not just a commercial expansion, it's a takeover of geopolitical position. And the most impressive thing is that Visa manages to do all this without anyone seeing them as a threat. Not like Amazon, Google, or Facebook. Not like the banks. Why? Because they remain invisible. They don't lend, they don't save, they don't sell anything directly. But they are the infrastructure, the glue, the system. And in this system, one thing is certain: the more the world becomes digital, the more powerful Visa becomes. Not because they innovate faster, but because they're already everywhere. And once you control the roads, you no longer need to own the cars. Of course, all this money being distributed has whetted the appetite of other companies you know very well, who intend to take their share of this lucrative market. Tim Cook goes on stage, he takes out an iPhone, announces Apple Pay is here. No more cards, no more wallets, everything goes through your phone. Investors in the room are excited, speculating about Visa's potential downfall. However, Visa's offices remain calm and composed. Why? Because what no one saw is that behind every Apple Pay payment, there's still Visa. Apple built the facade, but Visa owns the foundation. This scenario will repeat itself repeatedly. PayPal and Stripe are connected to Visa. Crypto allows escape, but converting bitcoins to euros often requires a Visa card. Visa doesn't fight against innovation, it absorbs it. Every time a new player enters the market, Visa doesn't try to destroy it, it makes it dependent. An integration, a partnership, a protocol. Gradually, the rebellion turns into just another channel. Visa is no longer untouchable. In recent years, countries like China have developed their own payment systems, challenging Visa's dominance. Stablecoins threaten the very idea of a centralized network. MasterCard has persevered through it all. While Visa imposes, MasterCard adapts. As Visa locks things down, MasterCard infiltrates. Where Visa builds an empire, MasterCard forms alliances. And what very few people know is that originally MasterCard was secretly created to counter Visa by 150 banks working in the shadows to take back power. MasterCard. It's the flip side, a different style and strategy. But that's a story for our next episode. So, remember to turn on the notification bell. In a world that's becoming automated, real power is knowing how to make yourself indispensable. Not by making the best product, but by becoming the essential infrastructure. And that's the first lesson for entrepreneurs. You can dominate a market without selling to the end customer. Visa offers no physical stores, customer service, or product marketing. They sell a network, an invisible system and layer. They understood that the one who connects, the one who synchronizes, takes their share without ever raising their hand. The second lesson is even harsher. The real monopoly is habit disguised as something obvious. You use Visa not because of peer pressure, but because it's convenient, functional, and you no longer question its use. And that's the most effective form of domination, when people think they have a choice, while they're all using the same bridge. I find that even more impressive than Apple, which, by the way, in 1997, after several bad decisions, was saved from certain bankruptcy by its biggest enemy, Microsoft. For a rather unspeakable reason. This was experienced as a betrayal by its fans, as you can see in the video that's showing.